Let's take a look at some of the awesome new manga that's coming out in August of 2023. It's time for the August manga buyer's guide, and there's a lot of exciting new stuff that's coming out this month and a lot of cool things that I was completely unfamiliar with until I got to read, the early volumes that Yen Press had sent me, and I'm very excited to talk about those books. Anyway, before we dive on into the buyer's guide itself, a few reminders of what these videos are and all that stuff. Number one, keep in mind that these are the official release dates that I'm giving, but there are things that will be delayed, and there are things that will come out early. There are a lot of things coming out that have already been delayed from previous months, actually. Second, keep in mind that I'm not going through every single new release. I'm only talking about what I consider to be notable new releases, and that is new debuting series. So new volume ones, new single volume releases. I'll also talk about some like final volumes whenever that happens, or like special editions, box sets, stuff like that. But mostly I think this time it's just final volumes, single volumes, and new first volumes. The reason I do that is because the purpose of these videos is to help people to find something new, something that they might not have otherwise heard of, something they might skip out on, because there are so many new manga that come out every single month that it's really easy to miss something that could be your new favorite series. So my goal is not to focus on, we all know that the new volume of the popular shonen manga is coming out this month. I'm trying to turn you on to something new. And if you do wind up trying something that I talk about in this video, because I talked about it here that you wouldn't have picked up otherwise, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and give me a tag over on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now. I'll put my @ here, it's Omni Collector. Tag me, put a picture up of the new book that you got, and then tag the publisher so that they know that you picked it up because I talked about it. It goes a long way, it's a little thing, but it really does help. Anyway, let's jump on into it with the first week, stuff that came out last week on the 1st of August. First up, we've got Ayashiban Volume 3. So this is the final volume of this short series by Yuji Kaku, the same creator as Hell's Paradise. It's a really fun shonen title. I had a good time with it, even though it got canceled early. I still think that it's worth picking up. And if you're a fan of Hell's Paradise, I would definitely recommend picking it up. Then we've got the first Yen Press release that I got to talk about, that I got to read, The Reformation of the World as Overseen by a Realist Demon King. This one has the 72nd Demon King, couldn't get that word out, 72nd Demon King, Astaroth, has been reincarnated into a new land and ordered to unite the world to reform its chaotic ways. So it is an isekai title. Next up from Kodansha, we have a couple. First up is Windbreaker. I'm really excited to check this one out. It's a school battle manga about a kid named Haruka Sakura who wants to be the strongest there is, and his high school happens to be one that is full of degenerates who use their strength to protect their town from any bad things that might come. But Haruka does not care about that. He just wants to be strongest. So he's ready to fight all of those guys to prove that. And also from Kodansha is the new hardcover deluxe release of A Girl on the Shore. This is a new edition of Inio Asano's infamous drama series about two teens in a sleepy seaside town who try to have a no strings attached relationship, which leads to its own complications for both them and those around them. And be warned, this is rated 18+ for sexual content, in case you're unfamiliar with this book. Then we've got a couple from 7Seas. First up is Plus Sized Elf Volume 1. This is an updated re-release of the original Plus Sized Elf series. I think there's a second, new Plus Sized Elf or Shin Plus Sized Elf, whatever that is coming out soon, and so they're re-releasing the original series with new covers and stuff to keep it in print. So it's not new material. Then one that I'm super excited for is Lupin the Third, the classic manga collection, Volume 2 hardcover. The first one of these Lupin hardcovers came out like 2 years ago or something. And what these are is basically greatest hits type things. It has various chapters of the manga that are coming, chosen as like the best. I think the last one was greatest heists because he's a thief, So these are supposed to be some like best chapters, best stories from the franchise. And it's a very large, very long running franchise, both as far as manga and anime goes. So I don't know that they'll ever collect the entirety of it in these hardcovers. But hey, if these, that one and this one sell really well, who knows? We'll see what happens next. But I've already ordered a copy. I don't have it in hand yet, but I'm excited to check it out because I really like the stories in the other one, and I'm a big fan of Lupin the Third. Then from Udon, we have Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I know nothing about Persona, like, I'm sorry, but this one, as far as I could find, is picking up after the ending of Persona 4, where General Teddy is returning and proclaims the start of P1 Climax. So if you are familiar with Persona 4, I'm sure that means a lot to you. Moving on to the second week, this is stuff that came out, as I'm filming this, it came out yesterday officially. Attack on Titan Omnibus Volume 12, this is the final omnibus edition of this series. This collects the last 2 volumes of Attack on Titan volumes 33 and 34. And this means that they've completed publishing Attack on Titan in 4 different formats that I can think of off the top of my head: the regular paperbacks, the colossal editions, the omnibus editions, and the box sets. So we have 4 different ways that you can collect it, and honestly, of all series that Kodansha is publishing now, if they continue doing the deluxe hardcovers like they are doing for like Vinland Saga, I wouldn't be surprised to see Attack on Titan be done in that format next. So another format. They're definitely going to want to keep milking the franchise because of how popular it is, and the anime is not done, so it's definitely going to continue. Then we have Summer Ghost, the complete manga. This is, I believe the manga and light novel are based on the animated movie, or maybe the movie is based on the light novel and the manga is based on both. I don't remember, but G-Kids did release this last summer. Summer Ghost, it's a really good, like 45-minute short anime film, really nice and dramatic and beautifully animated. It follows a group of 3 students who are looking into an urban legend of a ghost that appears when you set off fireworks at a certain abandoned airport. And these kids are not only drawn together because of their interest in this urban legend and finding this ghost, but also because these kids themselves are close to death. It's dramatic, it is emotional. I recommend checking it out personally, at least the anime, and I am getting a copy of the manga. I've already ordered a copy, so I'm excited to read that as well. Then also from 7 Seas, we got Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher. Hitsuji had a secret crush on one of his high school friends, Hatoyama, and never confessed, but now as an adult working as an elementary school teacher, he finds that one of his students is Hatoyama's son, and Hatoyama has been struggling to raise his son as a single parent, so Hitsuji begins to help him out, which causes the 2 men to start growing closer. And then one more BL to wrap out the second week of the month, At the Flower Capital Hana no Miyako Day, from Digital Manga Publishing. This is a historical yaoi that follows 2 childhood friends whose relationship becomes strained when Motoharu confesses to Akira. Eventually the 2 reconcile and become friends again. At least that's what Motoharu thought. And moving into the middle of the month, the 15th, we got some cool stuff coming. First up, one that I'm really excited about from Viz is Heart Gear. This is from the creator of Black Torch. So if you were a fan of that short 5-volume series, you might want to pick this one up. This is a sci-fi title that follows a human girl and an android almost 200 years after the destruction of humanity, who are searching for a mythical utopia where they will be able to protect those they love. The artwork, of course, is going to be fantastic if you're familiar with Black Torch at all, and the story sounds interesting. It's part of the Viz signature line, so it'll also be on the oversized pages that they're known for over there. Then moving onwards, we've got Dead Company. The cover that you're going to see me put up in the video might look familiar to you because this is from Yoshiki Tonogai, and this 3-volume series spins out of his previous titles, Doubt, Judge, and Secret. All of those were published by Yen Press, but this one's coming from Tokyopop, a little curious to me. And this one follows a survivor of a battle royale game 3 years ago who is scouted by a game developer called EDC to use his experience to make a new game. So if you're a fan of those titles, or I guess maybe even if you haven't read any of those, this might be something you'll want to pick up. Then we got one from Square Enix coming this month, Mr. Villain's Day Off. This one sounds really cute, and I do want to read it. So I'll be picking up a copy myself soon. Slice of life about a dastardly villain who likes to spend his days off relaxing and enjoying his secret hobbies. But he could find trouble when his nemesis, a hero, winds up catching him in the act of enjoying himself on his day off. And next up, we got one from One Piece Books. Villainous at level 99, I may be the hidden boss, but I'm not the demon lord. It's an isekai series, of course, where a girl is resurrected as the evil noble daughter from an otome game that she used to play. She's a small character, a minor character in the game, until the end game, where it's revealed that she's actually a very strong hidden boss. And so in the her world that she's living in now, she decides that she's going to start grinding and leveling up and training herself and becoming more powerful. And eventually she finds that she's made it to level 99, even though she originally wished to just live a discreet life. And because of her leveling up and the powers that she's gained, people now believe that she is a demon lord, and this causes her to have to go through a bunch of trials and tribulations. And then we end the third week with the first night with the Duke from Net Comics. I don't think I've talked about anything from Net Comics before on here. This is an average college student wakes up as an extra in her favorite romance novel and decides that she wants to enjoy her life as she watches the plot of the novel unfold. However, her plan doesn't exactly work out when she finds herself in bed with the novel's hero. Now moving on to the 22nd, the penultimate week of August. We start out with another one that I'm a 1-2 punch of things that I am super excited about, both coming from Viz Media. First up is Cat-Eyed Boy, the Perfect Edition hardcover volume 1 of 2 from Kazuo Umezz. This is a story about a boy who is hated both by demons and humans, so he can't really live with either of them. This was originally published several years back in paperback format, and it went out of print. It's been very hard to find for good price for a while, and now Viz, with this newfound focus on Kazuo Umezz's work, is putting this back into print, but now in hardcover edition. So I'm extremely excited for multiple reasons. Number one, I'm a big fan of everything I've read by Umezz. Drifting Classroom is amazing. Orochi was great. I'm excited to read this one. And they've already announced that they're doing My Name is Shingo after this. So it looks like they are giving a lot more focus, ongoing focus to Umezz. The second reason is because I've been trying to collect every manga in the Viz signature line. If you're familiar with my channel, you might know I collected everything from the Shonen Jump line, and then I collected everything from the Shonen Sunday line. And I've been working on the signature line for a couple years, but there's the last like 25 to 30 books are really hard to get, and them re-releasing this helped me knock off a couple volumes from that. Anyway, I'm super excited. I'm glad that Viz is giving focus to Kazuo Umezz. I'm glad that we're seeing more horror coming from Viz outside of just Junji Ito. As much as I love Ito, it's great to see more from other people as well. And the other big Viz book that I'm super excited about is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind Volume 9, the final volume of Part 5. I'm a huge JoJo's fan. I've been reading the series since it debuted in English back in 2005, and I love it, and I'm so excited. Every single time we see a final volume and moving into a first volume of a new part, it is so exciting to me. And so we're moving into Stone Ocean starting in November. And the more exciting news is that they're moving the release schedule from every 3 months to 1 volume every other month. So if they continue like that throughout all of Stone Ocean and beyond Stone Ocean, we should see Steel Ball run in early 2026. I know that still sounds a ways away, but we're shaving a good amount of time, like a good 9 months off of the previously estimated date. So final volume of Golden Wind, let's go. Next up we have Something's Wrong With Us Volume 16 from Kodansha. This is the final volume of the main series, but there are 2 more volumes because the series in Japan, it was like a couple of it was either a 2-volume series that like a sequel, or it was 2 single-volume sequels. I don't remember exactly how it was, but those 2 are being labeled as volumes 17 and 18 in English. But I wanted to bring the attention because the main story is ending with volume 16. If you haven't read this one yet, it is a psychological romance drama between a Japanese sweets maker and a man who framed her mother for murder. That's Something's Wrong With Us. Next up, coming from Kuma, is another single volume BL, the Ruthless Commander and His Reincarnated Warhorse. I'm going to give the same warning, I guess, here as the woman from Kuma did at the Denpa and Kuma panel at Anime Expo last month. He doesn't do it with the horse. That's all she said to start talking about the series. But there's a man who he dies and is reincarnated as a horse and becomes a commander's warhorse, and over time the reincarnated man begins to develop feelings for his master. And apparently, as she described it, unless I'm remembering incorrectly, he turns back into a human and then they like consummate the relationship, I guess. Anyway, moving onward, we got a couple things from Yen Press that they didn't send me, and then a bunch of things that they did send me. First up is I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level spin-off, the Red Dragon Academy for Girls. So it's a spin-off of that main series following the character Laika in her school days when she wasn't such a prim and proper young lady as she's now known to be. I don't know anything about that series or that character or anything, but that's what I gained from the description. Then we've got the newest of the Puella Magi Madoka Magica omnibus editions. This one's based on the movie Rebellion, so it contains the complete manga adaptation of the movie, which picks up after the ending of the original anime series. Right now for some Yen Press books that they did send me this month. First up is volume 1 of I Don't Know Which Is Love. This is a new harem manga, and it is a GL harem, so it's a little different than most harem that you'll see. Basically, the main character is in her final days of high school, and she decides to confess her love to her friend, but her friend does not, she doesn't feel the same way. And so she's let down, she's crushed, but then she decides to pick herself back up because she knows that she'll be starting college soon, and she's sure to find a girlfriend in college. And that is pretty much exactly what happens. She starts attending college, and immediately there's a girl that takes interest in her, and she's like, wow, this girl is great, and she starts falling for her. And then immediately thereafter, another girl shows up and takes interest in her because of another aspect of her. And she starts falling for that girl, and then another one, and then another one, and then another, and you know, it's a harem manga, you know how this stuff goes. So anyway, I read the first couple chapters, it was really cute. I've seen a lot of good said about it online as well, so I'm interested in continuing this one, and if you are a fan of harems and stuff, you might enjoy seeing this kind of do harems differently than you may be used to. Or if you're a fan of GL manga, then this is going to be a fun one for you to look at. Next up we have After We Gaze at the Starry Sky. This is labeled as volume 1 on the front and on the spine, but everything I found says that this is a single volume, including the fact that inside the volume it has like an epilogue chapter and everything. So I'm pretty sure that that's just mislabeled and this is just a single volume release. It is a BL about basically there's a wheelchair-bound graphic designer, and he finished designing a brochure for a planetarium, and he decides after designing this that he wants to go visit that planetarium. When he goes there, he winds up meeting a photographer that was also attached to the assignment. He'd never met the guy before, he just knew his work and stuff, and so the photographer, and they have this meet cute, and the meet cute is basically the photographer offering like to take him down the steps so that he can see the starry night sky up close. And this is their little meet cute, and that begins the story of this one. So again, it's labeled volume 1, but I'm pretty sure that it's just a single volume BL. Now this one is not a single volume, and it's also not a BL. That is Toge Oni, Primal Gods in Ancient Times. This is a fantasy adventure action series from the same magazine as like Delicious in Dungeon and a lot of other stuff, Harta. I've read the first couple chapters. It is very, very cool. I'm looking forward to continuing this one. Basically, it takes place in a time where humans and gods exist together, and our main character, a young girl named Mio, was chosen to be the sacrifice for her village's god, but is not ready to die. So a monk named Ozuno, who has the special ability to speak one-on-one with gods, tries to step in to save her life. That's the beginning of this adventure. The artwork is fantastic, the concept is cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this world kind of expanded upon. And then from Eyes Press, we have The Not So Wicked Stepmom. This one has, this is a reincarnation story where a woman who was in her life was a children's clothing designer, gets resurrected as the evil queen. And she has a stepdaughter who, as the evil queen, of course she was not so nice to her stepdaughter, but now this woman who's resurrected, all she wants to do is dote on her new stepdaughter and give her the greatest life that she possibly can. But the evil queen's reputation precedes her, and the stepdaughter is not really about having her be so friendly with her. And so basically this woman has to try and get her to trust that, she's trying to convince her that she's not so bad. At least she's not anymore. So yeah, that's the beginning of this new manhwa series that they're publishing under Eyes Press. Then we've got something really exciting coming from Fantagraphics. and Manga-splaining, and that is Okinawa. This is a pretty thick brick of a hardcover that I was very happy they reached out to me, Manga-splaining did, to see if I was interested in getting an early copy, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, I've been looking forward to this release. Okinawa is the first manga that is being published with the Manga-splaining podcast with, you know, other publishers and stuff. They've got other things that are coming out that were announced at both Anime Expo and at San Diego Comic-Con that are really going to be exciting, but this is their debut work, and it's a really fantastic one. It is a war manga that takes place in the later days of World War II, and instead of being this big bombastic, like these are the horrors of war type of thing that you might be used to by a lot of other war stories, this one is much more focused on the humanity behind the people that are pulled into war, mostly against their will. And so we get to see a lot of the, not just soldiers on both sides, but also civilians in Okinawa as they are dealing with everything around them. And it's a lot of times it's like kind of slice of life vibe to it, and it can become very heartbreaking. There are chapters that are purposefully meant to be funny in these situations. It's a very interesting look at that, you know, the war genre of manga and at World War II as well. And it also has a really in-depth conversation with the creator at the back of the book that kind of gives a lot of information about what he was wanting to do with this manga when he originally wrote it. So I definitely recommend picking it up if it at all sounds interesting to you. And definitely keep an eye on more of the MSX releases, the Manga-splaining podcasts, manga that are coming up, because they have some really cool things that were announced. I'm personally really looking forward to checking out Veil. Anyway, one last one for that week is Descendants, Mal's Royal Challenge from Tokyo Pop, and this was one that was delayed from last month. And we move into the final week of the month. We got another stack of stuff coming from Yen Press. First up, Mieruko-chan, the official comic anthology. If you're a fan of the existing Mieruko-chan series, you're going to want to pick this one up. It's an anthology book with several short stories by guest creators inspired by the original manga about a young girl who can see ghosts but tries to hide it so that they will not bother her. Next up we have Associate Professor Akira Takatsuki's Conjecture. This one is about Naoya, a university student who has the ability to detect any lie, which has kept him from ever being able to make any real friends. A paper of his interests his folklore professor, Akira, who decides to drag Naoya into his research as his assistant. And as an assistant in charge of common sense, he will help Akira interpret all kinds of inexplicable phenomena. The first chapter was pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to reading more into it. Definitely, like, from the vibes that I got from the description and the vibes that I got immediately when reading the first chapter, it was not what I expected at all. So this one I'm gonna have to read more in depth and probably talk about during my August haul video. I'll give a better idea of my thoughts on that one because I've only read the first chapter so far. Next up we have Game of Familia, or Family Senki. This is an isekai dark fantasy 18+ series. Keep that in mind, it is very mature. About a guy who recently moved in with his stepmother and his 3 stepsisters. And all of a sudden, they are transported together to another world where they have to work together to survive this new brutal landscape. And when I say brutal, I mean brutal. It is labeled 18+ for a reason. I was not a fan of that one at all. Like, not for me. I'd recommend looking into it a little bit more. Please keep the rating in mind. It is very mature. But yeah, I don't want to talk about it in particular on my video here, because if I go into the specifics, I might get this taken down or demonetized or whatever. And I don't want that. And I also don't want to just like crap on something for a long time when I know it's not for me, but it's probably going to be for someone else. Next up we have I Don't Need a Happy Ending. This one is a single volume GL anthology. It has a bunch of short stories about different relationships. It's from the same creator as the series Assorted Entanglements, so if you read that and enjoyed it, this might be of interest to you. And the stories do range from being sweet to spicy. Keep that in mind because it is 18 and up, and the first story is definitely deserving of that 18 and up rating. Then we've got one that I was really looking forward to checking out, is the Illustrated Guide to Monster Girls. This book follows a class of young monster girls who are going to school and they need to get good grades and pass and graduate so that they can start working in their jobs as full-time real monsters. It's really cute. I've enjoyed what I've read so far. I'm looking forward to reading more. I think an easy description of this one would be like, take the monster school aspect of Rosario Vampire, but remove fan service and add more like focus on character because it's a shoujo series, and that's what you get here. Next up, we've got The Witch's Marriage. I had no idea what this one was before, but I read a few chapters of it. It's very cute. It was very addicting to read. Basically, this is a comedy series that follows a witch named Melissa who needs the power of love to open the door of truth. So she finds a naive witch that she can marry to gain her powers. However, that witch, Tanya, may have the charm that it takes to make Melissa crack. So it's really funny so far. It's just, you know, short comedy chapters about these two witches and the stuff that they're going through. The series has like the same low-key vibe as Handyman Saito from Another World that I talked about a month or two ago. Just a nice kind of laid-back comedy series, really easy read. So that's it for the Yen Press titles. A lot of cool stuff from them this month, a lot of ones that I wasn't familiar with that now I'm really excited to read, which is always awesome. I always love having new things. Now moving on, we have another one from Seven Seas, Knight Captain is the New Princess to Be. This one's a fantasy romance about a noblewoman named Lady Chris, who becomes the captain of the Imperial Guard that protects her childhood friend, the Prince Leonardo. When the king insists that Leo get married, he chooses Chris immediately, but she thinks that it's just a ploy to get the king off of Leo's back. However, as things go forward, she begins to think that maybe Leo does actually have romantic feelings for her. That one sounds kind of cute, if I'm being honest. Then we have, this one's from Denpa, and I know that this is going to be delayed. It's not coming out this month, but I wanted to talk about it anyway because I know that a lot of people either A, never knew that this was going to be coming out physically, or B, completely forgot about it, but that is Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack, Beltachika's Children. So this is an alternate telling of the story from the Char's Counterattack movie. The manga, I believe, came out about 25 years after the original novel. So it's an alternate telling of that. It's 7 volumes long. A dozen years after the end of the 1-year war, Char has emerged to lead a Neo-Zeon, and Amuro is ready for the confrontation. Now, I know that this one's going to be delayed, but I wanted to use this chance to talk about it, not just because, like I said, I know a lot of people are unfamiliar with the fact that this even got announced or may have forgotten about it, but also because when I talked to Ed Chavez, the, you know, founder, president, publisher, whatever, of the man over at Denpa a few times over at Anime Expo, one of the things that I asked him was if there was any specific reason that they have common delays with their releases. And he was like, yes, and I expected him to say something about printing or shipping or something like that, like outside their control, but he said, yes, there is a reason. It's because we are such a small operation. I think they have like 4, maybe 5 people total that work between both Denpa and Kuma, and he does the editing on all, if not almost all of their releases. And so basically when I asked him, he was like, yeah, I have to do all the editing, so if something gets delayed, it's me, it's my fault. And in some cases, he was like, you know, I'll accidentally put something on the back burner and it kind of gets forgotten about in favor of other things. And that happened with some things, some of their releases recently, and he felt bad about that. But he said they're trying to get better with that, trying to work on it, but that is why things take so long for them to publish. Now, I know that this one's not coming out because usually what you'll see from Denpa is Ed will update on the Denpa Twitter account or X account. It's Twitter, whatever. He'll update on the Twitter account to say like, editing on this is done, sending the files to the printer. Printer is done, it's getting shipped back to us. We have our copies in hand and we're starting to send them out to retailers. Like, he'll update every step of the way, and we haven't seen a single one of those things, at least unless I missed it, for Char's Counterattack. So this is not coming out this month. It might not even come out next month. It might not even come out by the end of the year. I don't know, but I wanted to put it back on people's radars just in case you are a Gundam fan and you had no idea that this was coming out or you forgot about it. Anyway, moving onward, then we have a bunch of stuff coming from Ablaze, a bunch of stuff that's delayed as well. First up, we have Savage Garden. This one is an 18th century England young girl named Gabriel must impersonate her new friend Jeremy after an incident occurs. And Jeremy may be the illegitimate child of a nobleman. She has to take his place at an all-boys academy, which hides brutality beneath a heavenly facade. Then we have Immortal Regis. After a high school student is killed by an evil witch, he gains immortality and heads to from our universe to a parallel one that's full of magic. And then we have Get Schooled. Is about a world where student violence in schools is out of control, leading to the murder of a teacher, creating a public opinion calling for rapid change to juvenile law. The Teaching Rights Protection Act is revised into the Office of the Protection of Educational Rights, and a supervisor, Hua Jin-na, is sent to a school where the collapse of authority is so severe that he's going to be able to use his own violent and unorthodox ways of teaching to make sure the worst of the school's bullies are taught a lesson. I definitely want to check that one out. The other two, maybe, I don't know, but Get Schooled for sure. These might get delayed past this month because the last three that I have here from Ablaze are Terror Man, Wakfu, and Centaurs, which were delayed from last month or maybe the month before. But anyway, we'll see what happens with those. We'll see if Terror Man, Wakfu, and Centaurs also get released. Of those three, I'm definitely looking forward to checking out Terror Man and Centaurs specifically. And we have a couple coming out on Thursday, the 31st, the last day of the month, from Glacier Bay, The Other Side of the Clouds, and Give Her Back to Me, the latter of which was delayed from last month. But The Other Side of the Clouds is a slice of life about a young girl who moves to a seaside town and searches for meaning in an item from her past. Everything from Glacier Bay I tend to pick up because their releases are fantastic. They really don't miss. Both like the narrative and the artwork as well as the physical build of these books are A+ material, so I pick them up always, no matter what. Anyway, that's it for the month of August. A lot of really cool stuff that's coming out, a lot of things that I wasn't familiar with that I got to check out from like Yen Press, and a lot of things that I'm looking forward to checking out from other publishers. Let me know, as always, in the comments which ones you're looking forward to picking up. Whether I talked about the books or not, let me know what you're looking forward to picking up most in August. And if there's anything that I talked about here that you were unaware of, that you are now intrigued by and want to pick up yourself. So let me know all that in the comments down below. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. If you're new here, please hit that follow button, that subscribe button, so you can see all the new content that I put out every week. And again, thanks everyone for spending time with me. It always means a lot. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.